Good evening and welcome to this special presentation, Tackling Youth Violence on July 4th weekend. That was a night meant for celebration in Albany, turned chaotic just as the Empire State Plaza fireworks were letting out. 2 teenagers charged with second-degree attempted murder. One shot a flare gun that caused this fire, another destroying a building, another shooting a gun hitting 4 people leaving the fireworks. That's just one part of what would prove to be a violent night in Albany. Just hours after the Madison Ave Inferno, a mass shooting would break out between a group of teenagers on Livingston Avenue. And with that, we introduce our group of community leaders who have taken the time for this discussion today. We appreciate you all coming in for this, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
We'll go right around the room here. This is Eva Bass from Bridge the Gap in Albany. This is Jesse Sommer. He is the owner of New Scotland Spirits.
Yep.
We go down to Lukey Forbes with We Are Revolutionary. We have Pastor Charlie Miller with Victory Church and Tayshawn Murdoch with the Center for Law and Justice. Thank you all once again for coming in here. Before we begin, we do have to say, a few days ago, we invited Albany officials to this forum. They all declined. With that, let's begin this discussion with all of you. And we start it pretty broad. When it comes to youth and juveniles in the city of Albany, what's missing? Jesse?
I think it's a question of resourcing. And that's particularly poignant right now because, as you've reported yourself, we have talked about $400 million now reduced to a $200 million remaining budget that can be utilized for different programs here in the city of Albany. And I think one of the areas that has gotten short thrift are programs specifically tailored to youth and opportunities for those youths. And one of the things that I appreciate about you having made a forum like this available to us is that, as you're seeing, if I could make the statement, it does seem like it's community leaders who are stepping into the breach because municipal officials haven't made this as much of a focus as they need to.
Yeah, and I think that's what we've talked about with the state, and I've heard others say that too, that, you know, why did the state need to step in here? We're going to pick up where we were from the last segment, talking about guns in the community, how they're getting in the hands of kids. I want to get to Jesse to continue. I know that you've had some proposals and you've put them out there in a variety of ways to help with this.
Yeah, when we're talking about youth violence, the only thing we should be discussing is education. That full stop. I want to point out that everyone here is clearly voicing some degree of anger at our municipal officials, but it's not just us. It's recognized in the governor's office, which is why they put in the executive budget a $400 million grant to inject into downtown Albany. But sure enough, that thing got whittled away almost immediately. It didn't survive first contact with the enemy because $150 million goes to the museum. Now, at one point, I made the dramatic strategic error of giving Mr. Forbes my phone number. So when I say things like, for example, how is it that the police department is getting 1/100th of the funding that the museum is getting, he will, and I'm sure he will expand on this, he'll say, well, the police department isn't what needs the funding. And on some level, he's right. He and his organization, they're, as I said, stepping into the breach. They're doing the thing that puts them on the front lines. But the way I look at it as...
I will say that I was at the press conference you held last year. It was, I mean, he crashed it, right?
Oh, 100. We have conversations that I deem on the phone where I'm like, you're crashing my phone call.
Right. And I will give you a lot of credit there because you did allow for, at that point, you opened up the podium for a lot of people to speak, which is why we're all here.
Well, and I'll just finish by saying that the important piece is that as much as it pains me to offer Mr. Forbes any compliment whatsoever, he actually will listen. It's not just a matter of what you're looking at here are voices. These are ears. These are people that are listening. So in Albany, for example, when you have the most embarrassing statistic of #2 city in the nation in the divide between black and white home ownership with the legacy of redlining, and what I would say is it's not a matter of removing police. It's a matter of removing the inmates that shouldn't be there. And you do that by injecting opportunity through financial resourcing to these neighborhoods. That means a path to home ownership for people who historically haven't had that opportunity. It means offering different educational opportunities with jobs to young people in a manner that allows them to buy a home and stay in that community. So you're not just displacing the very population you're intending to help. Lukey, take it away.
We have to get rid of the blight in Albany so that people growing up in the city have something that they can look happy towards.
Let's get to Jesse now. We got to get to everyone before we go. Thank you, Luke.
All I will say is that I really appreciate you making this available. I appreciate the guys that are actually on the front lines. You guys are doing the work. I've learned from it. And so I hope that in some way I can be of support to you guys. Tom, do me the courtesy in future reporting that when you reference the soccer stadium, you talk about the stadium in the context of a stadium for New York's 5th most popular sport. Thanks. This is a conversation that is very applicable for people in the city of Albany, but I want to make sure that people outside of the city of Albany understand the impact of what we're discussing here. The reality is, when I was an adolescent, I got suspended from school. I was in detention all the time. The issue when we talk about youth violence is that is a symptom of a larger societal decay. The idea that we're talking about how do we keep guns out of the hands of youth? What do we do about youth violence? It starts with, for example, rehabilitating 873 vacant buildings in the city of Albany, addressing the blight with money we know that the state has, and then realizing that there is a holistic system at play here. For people who are listening to this conversation and it doesn't feel like it impacts them, just so happens, performatively or otherwise, I'm running for office on a campaign of ending poverty is good for business. Because the reality about what we're discussing here, when we're talking about youth violence or proper resourcing, you don't have to be a bleeding heart to understand that a healthy society is one where people make money, where resources can be shared, where access is dispersed. We don't have that right now. So I would even say that the framing of this as one about youth violence, that is downstream of the larger issue, which is the input is in the wrong place. Let's put the money in areas where we can have healthy environments where those adolescent testosterone units are getting into the type of trouble that I got into, which just nets you a suspension or two for a week or so.
Jesse, thank you very much. And we do have to get to a break. I apologize, Eva.
If I could, because we have an outgoing administration, one of the things that I think is really important is that there were successes. I can't list them offhand, but I know that over the course of 12 years, there must have been. Okay. And I think that Mayor Sheehan deserves a huge amount of credit for those successes. What I think the problem is that I don't need to hear them enumerated. What I need to see is, yes, you put the millions here and the millions there and the millions here and the millions there. I need to hear that you acknowledge that there yet remains a problem, because the likely administration that's coming in at the end of the year is largely the same administration. At the very least, it's the people that have been there before. You've got the same treasurer. It's the same potentially president of the Common Council. It's someone who's been previously in government. I want to know that the existing administration is leaving not by saying what we've done, but here are the things that yet need to be done. And by the way, if the rest of the region abandons the city, it will take everyone down. This is not just the city of Albany. If you live in Queens, if you live in New Scotland, Bethlehem, Guilderland, if you're up in Saratoga, Schenectady, the city of Albany is the core of the Capital District. So goes Albany, so goes the Capital Region.
I think we'll end there. Thank you all once again for doing this. Thank you once again for your passion, and we really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.